As Kool and the Gang said, celebrate good times. Come on. BCW and Shadow Wrestling Alliance fans, I am longtime independent wrestling fan Robert. Anniversary 8. A Jurassic celebration honoring the memory of the late Vince Steele. One great night of wrestling and a great way to honor the departed Jurassic juggernaut Vince Steele. I shortly after I sit down, we get on with the come unknown, leave unforgettable. Is that the phrase used for the pre-show matches? And we had a 6-way match where the winner would get a BCW T-shirt, and I believe Shane Fair did announce that the winner would be in the Grand Rumble in August. As we saw, Al De Niro versus Shane Rose versus Johnny Rambo versus Johnny Medina versus Devious Cass versus E Money Millie, who sounded like he came out to Shane McMahon's theme. One point, like, they were doing dives to the floor in the section right in front of, not directly in front of me because I sat second row, and they almost trampled the fans. Good pre-show match which saw Devious Cass defeat Al De Niro, Shane Rose, Johnny Rambo, Johnny Medina, and E Money Millie at 6 minutes 42 seconds. Then eventually Shane Fair introduces BCW owner Anthony Cole and talked about Vince Steele's passing, and he mentioned that they were a Christian hip-hop group who happened to be twin brothers. They were known as Young and Saved, and they were I think they performed 2 songs. They kept running around the ring and jumping up and down and such, and even those who wrestled on the show, they surrounded the ring for that performance. And then from there, Shane Fair introduces Desire, who sang the national anthem, and she did very good with that. And then Anthony Cole comes back in the ring again, introduces the governor of BCW, AJ Pan, and commentator, the voice Cheyenne Ortiz. They come in the ring, and I forgot what they were saying to each other. But AJ mentioned he's been with BCW from nearly the beginning. And I think at that point the main show did get underway. As we start out with the scramble match for the Shadow Wrestling Alliance Bad Mother Flyer. I didn't stutter on that, guys. Bad Mother Flyer Championship. In this match, it was Betty Blanco versus Big Aunt Gracia. That's A-N-T, not A-U-N-T. Versus Darren Richardson versus intern Jerry, countering by AJ Pan. Versus Jeff Skywalker versus Max Capacity versus Smiley. The match gets underway, and deep into the match, some familiar music came on, and out comes the mystery participant and the 8th participant, Vince Steele Jr., who was donning attire much like his late father, and not much happened afterwards, but Vince Steele Jr. defeated Smiley, Max Capacity, Jeff Skywalker, intern Jerry, Benny Blanco, Big Aunt Gracia, and Darren Richardson at 8 minutes 3 seconds to become the new Shadow Wrestling Alliance Bad Mother Flyer champion. Well, I don't know. I don't follow Shadow Wrestling Alliance. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do in terms of that championship. If they're going to retire it, or because I don't know if they're going to have Vince Steele Jr. defend that belt. From there, it was time for 10-man tag team action, as it was Team Puerto Rico versus Team GWA. Team Puerto Rico consisted of Fast Forward, Colin Parker, and Jay Alfredo, the prospects. And I apologize if I got if I get this wrong, Street Influence were on that team as well. Definitely apologize if it wasn't them, but so I guess some of the original people set for Team Puerto Rico didn't make the show. But they did battle with Team GWA, Mad John, Odyssey, a Perfect Ratio Adonis Stone, KB King, and John the Animal. Pretty good matchup these two teams of 5 had, and Team GWA defeated Team Puerto Rico at 11 minutes exactly. Up next, we were supposed to see Nahir Robles one-on-one with Journey Burke, but I guess Journey Burke didn't make the show. Instead, we got ourselves a triple threat match pitting Nahir Robles versus Sammy Chaos versus Zenith. Zenith came out to that Busta Rhymes song, "Woo-ha, woo-ha." I know there's more in the title of that song, but I can't remember right now. Good match these 3 ladies had. Sammy Chaos defeated Nahir Robles and Zenith at 5 minutes 28 seconds. From there, it was time for the tag team gauntlet match. As first we saw the Black Mafia, King Jeter and Danger 730 or 730 Danger, as they did battle with the Cha-Cha Juggernauts, Cha-Cha Charlie, and I apologize for not getting his partner's name. Cha-Cha Charlie teamed with the late Vince Steele in the past. The Cha-Cha Juggernauts ended up defeating the Black Mafia in the first part of the gauntlet. But then out comes Johnny Santos and Big Cuzzo, First Class, and they ended up defeating the Cha-Cha Juggernauts. Oh, I forgot to mention, sorry, I apologize. No, it was the Cha-Cha Juggernauts, they beat Black Mafia. Then there was a tag team they said were from Belgium, and I apologize for not getting their names. But they didn't last too long as the Cha-Cha Juggernauts defeated them. Then Big Cuzzo and Johnny Santos, First Class, come out. First Class defeats the Cha-Cha Juggernauts. But then out comes the final tag team, Jarrett Diaz and Matt Awesome, the Uptown Boys, and they quickly defeated First Class to win the tag team gauntlet match. And that whole gauntlet went 13 minutes, 21 seconds. Then, thankfully, at that point, they did go to intermission. And, a lot of wrestlers had their merchandise tables out. Good thing I actually went to use the bathroom at that point in time. The action resumed as we see Steve Monster Mac still came out to the Hit Squad theme. Nice blast from the past. As he did battle with Dr. Sleep, Anthony Gangone, who still comes out to the theme of Unsolved Mysteries with the late Robert Stack. Never did watch that TV show. And Monster was running down the building and the fans, but eventually Anthony Gangone defeats Monster Mac at 10 minutes 26 seconds. Up next was a triple threat match for the BCW Women's Championship as we see Diamond Virago versus Kick Demon Janai Kai versus Notorious Mimi with AJ Pan. These 3 ladies really had a good matchup, and Notorious Mimi defeated Kick Demon Janai Kai and Diamond Virago at 7 minutes 1 second to retain the BCW Women's Championship. Next matchup, we see another triple threat match as we see Ichiban versus Montekia versus Jay Bougie for the Grand Dragon Championship. Early in the bout, Bougie takes the Grand Dragon Championship belt and I don't know if he said he was leaving or he would be back. But Ichiban and Montekia are still butting heads in the ring. Some music comes on and Jay Bougie comes out wearing a Lucha Libre mask. And he had one for referee Nick Shin, who puts his on. At one point, Shin was counting in Spanish, and I forgot what else he said as the match went on. Jay Bougie defeats Montekia and Ichiban at 12 minutes 58 seconds to retain the Grand Dragon Championship, and the three of them, along with referee Nick Shin, were dancing after the match ended. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, right after the 10-man tag team match, right after the 10-man tag team match, ring announcer Shane Fair, he pointed out, tonight I'm not representing BCW or Shadow Wrestling Alliance, because both companies came together to do this show, and with the blessing of the late Vince Steele's family. But Shane Fair said, he didn't want to name one. It was one promotion out there. He didn't want to name them and give them an ounce of fame. And basically, he went on a rant about this. And, the crowd erupted huge for this. And Shane Fair said, I'm outside, he says, hey, I'm here almost every Saturday. And, said, go fuck yourself. And I gotta say, Shane, you really let it rip. And at the point, after you said all of that, while I was of course, right in the crowd, and you were facing my direction, because the hard camera was positioned right behind where the area I was sitting at. I mean, when you said that, I ended up saying bang, bang, bang. And we're not talking about using guns, folks. But, and I'm sure, Shane, you're not the type who gets angered too often. But yeah, that was right after the 10-man tag match. But I've gone through all the matches, but we came down to the main event as Prince Ahmed challenged the Allfather, Darius Carter, for the BCW World Heavyweight Championship. These two guys really took their time in the beginning, and at one point they did go into the crowd. I forgot who, but somebody got was dropped on a table, but the table didn't break. They were using submission holds on each other. A lot of great mat wrestling here. The Allfather, Darius Carter, eventually defeats Prince Ahmed at 30 minutes, 15 seconds. Yes, this was a long match. Even this one lady behind me, she kept complaining when either Carter or Ahmed were kicking out of pinfalls and such. She wanted the match to be over. I don't know, maybe the lady was getting tired, or, it was a very long show, folks. And it got to the point where eventually Darius won the match, and out came Jay Bougie, because there's been like a lot of talking on Darius's part, and I don't know, Bougie's done much talking, but Bougie obviously wants Darius Carter for that heavyweight championship. And it got to a point, it was too hectic. Anthony Cole came out, Cheyenne Ortiz at the commentary table, the governor, AJ Pan, had come out, the referees were out there, Nick Shin, I forget who that referee was with the headband on. And it got to a point there, it was just too hectic. And even, Carter says, you want a title shot, earn it. And Anthony Cole, at one point, he's in the ring, he says to Bougie and Carter, now's not the time for this. And I don't know, it was just too much. If you watch the show on Title Match Wrestling when it's released, and you'll see how wild and hectic things nearly got after the show. At one point, Carter went to the curtain, but he threw intern Jerry out the curtain towards the ring, and it was just so wild and hectic. And by the way, as I said, this show ran long because it was a 6 p.m. start, and it ended. It was like almost just about 10 p.m. It was over, and I will say it drew a great crowd. BCW and Shadow Wrestling Alliance, you definitely did great on this one. And once again, Shane Fair, you did let it rip. And you were saying you didn't want to mention them by name, considering you said they would get a hard on if you mentioned their names. I don't think they would have gotten a hard on, let alone a cream fest. They probably would have been all butthurt, possibly. Now, personal notes. It was great seeing Stella, Novi, Billy Blade, a.k.a. BJ Benjamin, Anthony Ellison, Shane Fair, AJ Pan, Ace owner Mike Morgan, pro wrestling owner Mike Morgan, who made it out to the show. Who else did I see? Oh, Jason Bob 87, Bill Parham was there. Who else can I think of that was at this show? Oh, funny thing is, I think I don't know if the pre-show match was coming to the ring, but Anthony Cole noticed me and he gave me a really big hug and all. I will say, BCW, if you consider running the day before Memorial Day weekend again, you might be better off starting earlier, because had this show started at 2 or 3 o'clock, then I would have brought my brother to this one. All right, well, it was announced that BCW returns on Thursday, you heard me correct, Thursday, July 31st, as they present Queen of the North 6, which is basically a showcase of women's wrestlers. And I don't know the exact date, but I believe it was mentioned in August they returned for the Grand Rumble, which took place last August, and that was actually my last BCW show before Anniversary 8, which I'm covering over here for you. Colin Parker of the Prospects saw me outside after I left the building, and Colin, because you were wearing a hat at that point in time, if you hadn't had your Loud East Wrestling Tag Team belt there, I wouldn't have known it was you under the hat. And like I said, BCW, if you consider running the day before Memorial Day again, like I said, please start at earlier time, because due to the show ending at 10 and then the time it took to get the bus back to New York City, and I got home, I think it was just after 12:30 in the morning I finally got home, considering the Port bus back to ride to Port Authority and then taking trains back home. Like I said, BCW, if you do consider, if you consider that, might consider doing that from this point on. And I mean, I don't know if you're gonna stick to doing Sundays mostly. Sunday shows, that is. Okay. Let me see here. Wow, I can't remember what else can really be said about this show. Okay, I think this will pretty much do it. This was my first BCW show since Grand Rumble last August. Hope to come back to BCW again, but it will not be Thursday, July 31st, because I don't want to have to go to work the next day on very little sleep. So, I got to mention Ruthless Lala was in attendance, and she and Janai Kai were having some words after Kai's triple threat match, so who's to say there's trouble brewing in that one. Alright, BCW, this was great, and hope to be back at the BCW again, and hopefully I can bring my brother. BCW, 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 BCW.